What's good, everyone? Today is December 1st, and we've got a full NBA slate lined up. If you want clean breakdowns and picks based on recent form, trends, and matchups, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Atlanta Hawks versus Detroit Pistons. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Detroit Pistons. Detroit enters with a 15-3 record, and even though they took a close loss to Boston, they've consistently proven they can compete at a high level. Meanwhile, Atlanta is sitting at 11-8 and is coming off a rough loss to Washington where they allowed 132 points. Detroit ranks strong in efficiency, rebounding, and defensive pressure, and with the momentum they're carrying, especially at home, this feels like another spot where the Pistons get it done. Now for the player prop, I'm rolling with Jalen Johnson over 0.5 double-double. He's been extremely consistent, hitting a double-double in 4 of his last 5 games, and with his role, minutes, and production trending upward, this matchup gives him another solid opportunity to repeat it. Cleveland Cavaliers versus Indiana Pacers. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Cleveland Cavaliers -5.5 spread. Cleveland may be on a 3-game skid, but that comeback attempt against Boston showed some life, and they already beat Indiana by 11 earlier this month. The Pacers are still without several key pieces, including Tyrese Halliburton, and that puts them at a major disadvantage. With momentum shifting and a favorable matchup, this looks like a strong bounce-back spot for Cleveland. For this one, I'm rolling with Andrew Nembhard, under 2.5 turnovers. He did finish with 3 turnovers in his last game against Chicago, but before that he stayed under this line in 4 straight games, including a matchup versus Cleveland where he had 0 turnovers. With the Cavs' defensive pressure and pace, I expect a more controlled game from him, especially since he usually takes care of the ball well. Wizards versus Bucks. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Milwaukee Bucks -10.5 spread. Milwaukee hasn't been perfect this season, but Washington has been struggling at an even higher level with a 2-16 record. The Bucks come in as the stronger and deeper team on both ends, and the matchup aligns with where Washington has had the most trouble defending size, pace, and experience. With Milwaukee also projected to control the paint and tempo, this sets up as a strong spot for the Bucks to take care of business and cover. Now for the player prop, I'm rolling with Kyle Kuzma over 2.5 assists. Kuzma has been consistent in this category, posting 3, and 6 assists in his last 3 games. He's shown increased playmaking responsibility, and in a fast-paced game with added opportunities, this line sits in a range he's been clearing recently. Brooklyn Nets versus Charlotte Hornets. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Charlotte Hornets -4.5 spread. Brooklyn is still searching for momentum at 3-16 and riding a 9-game losing streak at home. Charlotte has been more reliable against the spread and has shown better offensive balance overall. With the Nets continuing to struggle both offensively and defensively, this feels like a spot where the Hornets get it done and cover. Now for the player prop, I'm rolling with Con Knuppel over 3.5 assists. He's cleared this number in his last 2 games, finishing with 4 assists in back-to-back matchups. With his role increasing and Charlotte continuing to lean on his playmaking, this sits in a range he's already been hitting. Miami Heat versus Los Angeles Clippers. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Miami Heat -5.5 spread. The Clippers come into this one at 5-15 on a 4-game losing streak and struggling both at home and on the road. Miami has been much stronger this season, sitting at 13-7 and performing well against the spread. With momentum, efficiency, and matchup history leaning toward the Heat, this sets up as another solid spot for Miami to take care of business. Now for the player prop, I'm rolling with Norman Powell over 20.5 points. Powell is going up against his former team, and recently he's been heating up, finishing with 28 points in his most recent game and 32 just before that. With his role and confidence trending upward, plus the added motivation facing the Clippers, this line sits right where he's been outperforming lately. Bulls versus Magic. For this matchup, I'm riding with the Orlando Magic -7.5 spread. Orlando has been the hotter team lately, winning 8 of their last 10 and performing well even without Paolo Banchero going 6-2 when he's not on the floor. Chicago, on the other hand, has struggled with only 3 wins in their last 12 and a 0-6 record ATS in their recent stretch. With Orlando playing strong at home and covering consistently, this looks like another favorable spot for the Magic. For the player prop, I'm going with Nikola Vucevic over 20.5 points. Vucevic scores 20 plus points, Chicago typically stays competitive, and most of those performances turn into wins. With Orlando missing Paolo Banchero and the matchup leaning toward increased usage for Vucevic, this number sits in a realistic range for him to reach. Dallas Mavericks versus Denver Nuggets. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Denver Nuggets, negative 10.5 spread. Denver has been one of the strongest teams in the league at 14-5, while Dallas continues to struggle at 6-15. The Nuggets have also hit the over more often at home and continue to play with elite efficiency behind Jokic and Murray. Dallas has been inconsistent on both ends, especially on the road, making this a tough spot for them in Denver's building. For the player prop, I'm going with Cooper Flagg, over 5.5 rebounds. Flagg has cleared this number in 5 straight games, with rebound lines of 8, 7, 7, 7, and 7. He's locked into heavy minutes and continues to stay active on the boards regardless of matchup or pace. With his consistency and role trending upward, this is a line he's been clearing regularly. Houston Rockets versus Utah Jazz. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Houston Rockets negative 12.5 spread. Houston comes into this game at 12-4 and owns one of the top net ratings in the NBA. They're also getting Kevin Durant back in the lineup, which gives them an even bigger edge. The Rockets have been dominant on the road, going 8-1 against the spread away from home and winning those games by a strong margin. For the player prop, I'm going with Reed Sheppard, over 2.5 3-pointers made. Sheppard has been shooting the ball extremely well from deep, hitting 3 or more threes in 9 out of his 16 games. Utah ranks last in the NBA in opponent-made threes and also sits low in opponent 3-point defensive percentage, meaning shooters tend to get clean looks against them. With his volume and accuracy, this is a spot where Sheppard can hit that number again. Los Angeles Lakers versus Phoenix Suns. For this matchup, I'm rocking with the Los Angeles Lakers, negative 4.5 spread. The Lakers are on fire right now, winning 6 straight and only dropping 2 of their last 15 games. Even without LeBron, they've been dominant, and now with him expected back, they get even stronger. The duo of Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves has been unstoppable, consistently combining for 70-plus points across their last 3 games. Add in strong frontcourt play from DeAndre Ayton and Rui Hachimura, and this Lakers team looks locked in. For the player prop, I'm going with Luka Doncic. I'm taking over 32.5 points. Doncic has been on a scoring tear, putting up 34, 35, 43, 33, and 37 points in his last 5 games. He's consistently clearing this line, and with his usage, shot volume, and current rhythm, this matchup puts him in another great position to go over 32.5 again. Alright, that wraps up today's slate. If this breakdown helped you out, make sure you subscribe, drop a like, and leave a comment with your favorite pick of the night. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next one.